and Bob Keysweater. The last day of the month. Congratulations. March 31st. I didn't see any spouses' birthdays, and there was no wedding anniversaries to report. And no reports on anybody that this week that joined Rotary or our club. And the last part of this, the announcements is, of course, bingo April the 4th is John Vickery, Jake Thomas, and Judy Nairn. That's who I have down there, unless they've changed and somebody didn't tell me. Let me see here. So I just got yes.
Just we had planned to have a fireside tonight, but we've had a couple of our new Rotarians had to cancel at the last minute. So I did send an invite out. So please don't come to the Hospice of Waterloo Region's admin office on Lawrence Ave tonight, because we won't be there. But I do want to thank Michelle for her understanding, and we will reschedule for the three of you and get you all together and make it a little more of a cozier event. So thank you very much.
So 50-50 draw. The big prize of $209.50. And you have first crack at it if your last four numbers of your ticket is 8331. 8331.
Good luck, John. What was your technique?
8295.
No, that's
8295. That was this far away. 8356. 8356. I'm going to call upon Jairus Voss, who's going to give us a rundown of our VFL draw this year.
Just a random pictures of all related to our prizes this year. This year's Vacation Fantasy Lottery trips include an exotic land that has transitioned over centuries from a powerful empire to a modern-day economic and cultural powerhouse. Yeah, that's it. And there will be a quiz later. And a dream yacht cruise to the gems of the Mediterranean, a pampered spa vacation to one of the most beautiful islands of the Caribbean, a luxury cruise aboard the newest and most innovative ship at sea, and a romantic week to the ultimate city of romance, Paris. And on top of that, we have a new option for the early bird winner, or better yet, three options to choose from for a fun-filled weekend getaway. The grand prize this year is an escorted trip to Japan. This empire, with a history spanning centuries, is a beautiful natural wonder with a deep, proud culture and welcoming and friendly people. Our tour shows it all, from the majestic, mystical, natural wonder of Mount Fuji, didn't come up as I expected, to the modern, techno-vibrant cities like Tokyo. With visits to Osaka, Kyoto, Nagoya, this grand prize winner will experience all of the facets that make this country a historic and modern gem of Asia. First prize is a Windstar yacht cruise from Athens to Rome. These yachts provide a casual atmosphere with five-star dining and an intimate group size to let you experience the luxurious feeling that only the small yachts can provide. With visits to many of the picturesque and historic ports of Greece, Sicily, and the Amalfi Coast. This will be a fantasy vacation to fill your memory and your memory card with breathtaking scenery in every port. And we return with a perennial favorite at the Body Holiday Resort and Spa in St. Lucia. Combining one of the prettiest Caribbean islands with its best spa makes this a true pampered luxury fantasy getaway. Previous winners have declared that this should be on our list every year, as the experience defines the true concept of a vacation fantasy. We've also offered a 5-star Caribbean cruise on the newest innovative ship at sea, the Celebrity Edge. That's Tokyo, that's Paris. This ship boasts 29 dining experiences and its new magic carpet, which is a floating room that moves up and down the 13 decks on the side of the ship, that's it there, and changes from restaurant to bar to nightclub throughout the day. For large ships, Celebrity defines the ultimate luxury, and with this first of the Edge class of ships, it is at the forefront of what is to come. Truly 7 days of fantasy at sea. That's the Body Holiday. There's the room that goes up and down on the side of the Edge with the view out over the ocean. It is a restaurant by day and a nightclub at night.
So it's like an elephant.
And the final offering of our main prizes is a week to experience on your own the City of Light, Paris. With all the delights of amazing dining, famous and dazzling galleries, shopping and sightseeing, and its iconic monuments, river and parks, Paris is something for everyone. This fall, 1-week vacation allows for several different departures during the most beautiful season of the year to explore the famous and find your own private treasures that reveal themselves at every turn in this beautiful city. And this year, we're also offering something new and exciting for the early bird. The lucky winner will have a choice of 3 possible fun getaways with varied options that should appeal to almost everyone. Choose from from 4 days in exciting New York with its shows, parks, and shopping, or a 4-day game-filled Las Vegas weekend, or a relaxing 4 days in the sun on the stunning beaches of Paradise Island in the Bahamas. The hard part will be having to make the choice. So that's a brief review of this year's prizes for the VFL, and I hope you find them as interesting and exciting as I do, and that they strike the imagination as true vacation fantasies that will assist in making the best sales year ever.
Thank you, James. Any questions for Jairus?
What's the trade-off if they can't go? What's the percentage of?
80%.
80.
Yeah.
Yes, Jack.
What's the capacity of the small cruise ship?
90.
They vary, but is it 90% this year? Oh, it's 90%.
It was always 90.
10, okay. The cruise ship is 190 to 200 passengers. About the size of a river cruise. You would have seen pictures of it there, because it is a sailing yacht that sails when appropriate. You're not leaning like this all day long, strapped to the mast, but they put the sails up when it works for them, and sail with engines when it does.
Anyone else? I know Leo wanted to say a few words.
Yeah, just one final thing. You would have received an email, all of everyone in the club, from Everton today, with the poster attached, etc., and instructions for entering VFL tickets into our new app. Thanks again, Everton and his team of Kyle and Nathan. And this evening, through to when I get it all done, Everton's put in a 24 to 30 hour. I will update everybody's profile, add your tickets. You will receive as soon as I add your name, you will receive an email, and then within 5 minutes of receiving that email, all the tickets that you've been allocated will be on your profile, and you can just add, follow the instructions in the manual, and we're good to go. Any questions regarding that, you can call Everton or myself or email us. Thank you. Thanks,
I have
George.
to get my grandson to do
I'll call upon past President Ed. Introduce our guest speaker.
They look so simple. My brain doesn't work.
Our speaker today is Margaret Van Haren. She's a native of the Netherlands. emigrated to Canada in 1998 to Wallaceburg, Ontario, not to be confused with Wallacestown, Ontario, population 12. Anyway, same neighborhood. She's been working at the Grand River Hospital since 2004. She's a physiotherapist by trade, and she's working part-time now. She's done some charity work in India and in Kenya in November. And she's living here now in Kitchener with 2 children and 3 grandchildren. Please join me in welcoming Margaret.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for introducing me, Ed. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you this afternoon. Can everybody hear me well enough like
Use
this?
the mic. You can take it off.
Okay. Yes, that's what you're supposed to do. So, my name is Margaret, and I'm a physiotherapist. And a little over a year ago, I traded in my full-time job for a casual job to do more of the things that I really like to do. I do enjoy my work, but there's other things in life than just working. One of my things on my bucket list was to work in Africa as a volunteer, and I got in contact with Ikenua, and I spent the whole month of November with them in Nakuru in Kenya. I'm not very handy at this, I'm going to move it over. Yeah. So first I'd like to introduce the Ikenua team to you. The boots on the ground are Chris and Ashley Gaspari, and president of the board and co-founder is Elsie. I'll start with Elsie. Elsie is native Kenyan and still lives there and works there. Ashley lived in Kenya from age 4 to age 18. Her parents are missionaries, they still are, they still live in Kenya. So Ashley grew up in Kenya and went to high school or boarding school with Elsie. And together they had this dream of once they were adults to help the children in Kenya have a better life. At age 18, Ashley went back to the United States. Her parents are from the United States, and she studied to be a nurse. And she met Chris, who is a nurse as well. They got married, had lovely children, worked for a couple of years, and they had really high-end jobs in management and whatnot. But they weren't really satisfied with their lives, and they decided to start Ikenua and move to Kenya and try to fulfill actually Elsie and Ashley's dream. So that's why these 3 are the main organizers of the organization. So, Ikenua, their mission is to break the cycle of poverty in rural Kenya and Kenyan schools. You can read that yourself. It is a water and sanitation project for schools in rural areas. That's what it mainly is. And I could do a very fancy presentation with lots of statistics and background information and, you know, research and all that sort of stuff. I do have it on my laptop, but I've chosen to tell you my story about what I saw in Kenya and why I think it's such an amazing project. Do I really? Is it better with the mic? Okay. If I talk too fast, tell me. So. While I was there, my job actually was to prescribe wheelchairs for children with cerebral palsy. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. I had a chance to tag along and to see many different water projects. Some were supervised by Rotary over there. Some were done by Ikenua, and some were done by other organizations. And I just had a chance to see quite a few different ones. And it was very interesting, and by no means am I an expert on this subject. I just thought whatever I saw from Ikenua, I was very impressed with it, and that's why I just wanted to talk about that here today. First, some facts. Let me see, how's that working? Here we are. On average, a child has to walk 5 kilometers a day to have access to water. I've seen these kids, I've seen older people, I've seen everywhere you go, there's people dragging these what do you call that? Jerry cans with water around. Usually the children and the older people. They have to walk 5 kilometers with that water on their back, and they get the water from that little stream there. I wonder if I can get that thing, put it away. Hang on. No, that doesn't work. No. Oh, that's better. So I pass that stream up there every day, and as you can see, there's not a lot of water in there. And it wasn't the dry season, so you can imagine how hard it is in the summer to have water if you have to get it from that little bit, and many people get the water there, of course. I'm going to ask you all to picture yourself for 24 hours. If you have about 20 liters of water at your disposal, and you also have to feed a couple kids with that. 20 liters is 5 gallons. And you have to use that water for your tea, your water, your coffee, your cooking, washing your hands, brushing your teeth, and I would suggest not to shower or flush the toilet because you will not have enough water. And of course this water is not very clean, and we all know what that has for implications in your health. It's like worms and diarrhea and all that sort of stuff. So it's a very difficult situation for many, many people there. And after getting the water, these kids have to walk to school, usually with an empty stomach, maybe a little bit of water. And the situation in the school is not a whole lot better. The schools are overcrowded. There's no running water, not enough toilets. Teacher pupils 1 to 70. Books 1 to 5. So it's not a very good learning environment or healthy environment for kids. I guess you guys all know these kind of things already, right? And then these were stalls that I saw there. No running water, and this is for half a school. So you can imagine what the situation, how unhygienic the situation is there. One of the first days that I tagged along, this is what I saw. And this is why what is so interesting. This is early in the day, and there's parents that are there to help out. The plan for that day was to take 2 classrooms down and to move them over, to relocate them at the school property. And a lot of parents and a lot of people came out to help. And it maybe doesn't look like that many people there, but a lot of people showed up, but they're kind of scattered over the terrain. And this is why I think Ikinwa is such an amazing approach. Ikinwa does not start a project unless all parties in the community are involved in the decision making, but they also have to contribute. They have to contribute with their time and their physical labor, and they also have to contribute a little bit with money, whatever they can afford. And this is to make sure that they're all buying literally spoken, buying into the project. And after everything is said and done, Ikinwa will pull out and the community will carry on, because there's also people supervising the project from the community, not only Ikinwa but also from the community. So, let me see. Again, everybody's helping out. Can you guys see that well enough? Yeah? It was actually a fun day, to be honest. So I'm going to go back to the beginning to make the whole story a little bit more comprehensive. This is the school property. This is actually where they are rebuilding the 2 classrooms, and the road is here. It's actually a big property. I'm going to start here. So if the school needs water, you have to collect the water. There's a lot of water in the rainy season, an awful lot of water. And if you can collect it and save it for drier times, that is amazing. That's already half the battle. To collect the water, you have to start with putting on new roofs and new gutters, and you collect the water. I don't know why the roofs are blue, but wherever there's roofs where you collect water over there, they are blue. So that's the first part of the project. And the project is always done in steps every time the community has to come out and has to physically help. So the water is collected in the roof. There's dirty water and clean water. Clean water is for drinking. It goes through a little filter. And the dirty water is collected in a different reservoir, and that is used for flushing the toilets and for farming. And a little bit more about that later. The second step was to install a water reservoir that you see here. But only the rainwater is not enough to last for the whole season. You also need to add water from a well. In Kenya, there are lots of water bodies, but most of the water is very, very unhealthy. It has extreme high concentration of fluoride. I think it's 400 times more of what is allowed, for example, in Canada. Fluoride causes extreme osteoporosis and brown stains on your teeth. A couple more other issues, but it's very visible that these people have ugly brown stains, dark brown stains on their teeth. For girls, that's really bad because they will not be able to get married. Nobody wants them. But other than that, it's also very unhealthy. So you need to find a water body that is, where the water quality is good enough to pump up. There's filters that you can use to filter out the fluoride, but it's a very unpractical situation in this type of country because the poor people, after a while, they don't spend the money anymore on the filter. So they're going to use the water anyway, whether it's healthy or not. So you need to have water of high quality. Right beside the school, they did find a big well with enough water, and they brought pumps in, and they drilled holes 250 meters deep, actually, and put in a pump and a little bit more of higher voltage electricity, because right now they only have electricity for a couple lights, and you need a little bit more to pump up the water. So throughout the year, they use the water from the rain as well as from the well. And let me see if I'm not forgetting anything. So the next step was to build new latrine buildings. Each latrine building has 8 stalls, so one building for the boys, one for the girls. The classrooms are neatly written on the doors, so everything is organized. On the front, there's taps for the kids to wash their hands, and also the water is drinkable. And they're even experimenting what the best taps are, not to waste water, like with sensors and all that kind of stuff. The latrines. So this is a stall that is for the girls, the oldest classroom for the girls. And there's a red bucket in there, and that bucket is for disposal of sanitary pads disposal. The pads are provided by the local Rotary, and Rotary also ensures that the waste of the buckets is collected and properly disposed of in incinerators in town. This is to make sure that the manure or the feces are as clean as possible. You can also see the dunk tank, I guess it's what it's called. Every first stall has a dunk tank, and the water flushes all 4 of them. Just all to be as economical with the water use as possible. The next step in this project was to make a reservoir, a tank for the feces for biogas. A lot of, in this time and age, a lot of rural areas use biogas that's derived from feces and manure. Not all schools want that. That's another step that's important. Some areas very suspicious about using human feces for biogas, and they don't want it. This particular school that want to biogas, they're going to have to add a little bit of manure. There's a churner somewhere, I believe this is actually the churner for this tank, I believe. But anyway, this is a tank with the feces and the manure to use the biogas for cooking for the kids. 1 meal per day, hopefully. Let me see if I did. So now we're back to the gray water. This is the old water tank where they collect the gray or the dirty water, and that water will be used. It's piped to the latrines, and it's also piped across the property to this patch of land where the school classes, where the 2 classrooms were taken down. So the classrooms were terrible. They flooded every time when there was rain. They needed to be rebuilt or replaced desperately, but those things don't often happen in countries like Kenya. This time it happened because they were sitting on a very fertile patch of soil. And this little piece of land will be used to grow vegetables, potatoes, and corn to feed the children. If there is a surplus of vegetables, they will be sold, and the revenue will be used to buy new seeds or supplementary food, and as well to maintain the system. Here comes the involvement in the community around the corner again, because parents and teachers and people from the community will assist the children in growing all the vegetables and harvesting and using them. So this way the kids will have one decent meal a day. Hopefully they'll have some revenue to maintain the system. And again, the water from the old reservoir is piped there. The last day I was there, I think the pipe was put in. This is something very interesting. This is a water, it's roughed in, but it will be a water ATM. I've seen this a couple times in Kenya. They have milk ATMs. The way we have ATM machines to get water, they have it to get milk. So you use a pay-as-you-go card, or you use your phone. Kenya is very well advanced in all this online banking. Everybody has a phone there, of course, a mobile phone. You don't need data. You don't need a plan or anything. I have no idea how it works, but most people have a phone. As long as it's charged and you have a bank account, you can pay, and you have some money in your bank. You can pay with your phone. You just make a combination of the numbers of wherever you pay and your own number, and the money is transferred. It's a very interesting system. It has opened up a lot of possibilities for people in Kenya. So anyway, this is a roughed-in water ATM with 3 points to access water, and the 4th point of access is to maintain all the computer work and all that, the maintenance and all that sort of stuff. So you just hold your phone or your pay-as-you-go card, you punch in how many liters of water you want, and you hold your jug under there, and there you go, you have clean water. The expectation is that there will be more than enough water in the well, that community can benefit from this too. That's why, again, the involvement of the community was important, and for them to understand that they'll get something out of it. They don't have to walk as far anymore for water. The water will be clean. They will have to pay a minimal fee, but the expectation is that in the end people will be very happy with that. The kiosk is at like this is the main road. It's a very dirty dirt road, very lumps and bumps, but it's right at the access. That will just make a fence around it. So the money that they generate from this water kiosk again will go into the system to maintain the system, and if there's more money to buy maybe books for the kids or whatever it is used for. The committee who overviews the whole project will also overview the maintenance of the system. This is a couple of days later when the classrooms were rebuilt further down, closer to the other buildings in the school. Now you can see that one of the classrooms is already up, and here they're starting to build. I'll have to go back one. A lot of people were there. It was really, again, it was a very fun day because people come together and they're very jovial. It's a very, very good atmosphere. The gentleman who sits here on the floor, he happened to be on crutches that day, is the chair of the committee who overviews the project, and he very neatly writes down in a notebook exactly what people contribute, what their monetary contribution is. So everybody was there to help. The kids come along, the older children help carry the little children. Some little children help as well, which is very amazing. So like I said, after everything is said and done, Ekenua will pull out of the project. The people who supervise the project right now will carry on. Ekenua could be asked for advice. advice. They will be there to collect some data from the computers that they install wherever ports of water of entry and exit and all that are. But they will not put in resources. The community will be able to carry on with the project. And that is why I believe this approach is so good. So why am I here today? We all get bombarded with cases and situations from all over the world where people are in need of our help and ask for our help. But when you experience in person that people don't even have the bare necessities of life, and there's a viable solution to help some of these people, especially children, in such a good way, I think you need to act. So I'm going to ask you guys as Rotarians to consider to take on a project from Ikenua and to support it with all your might. Because it's not only a good cause, it's also a very good way to help. Because in the end, it's self-sustainable and it gives a lot of children a chance for a better future. Thank you.
Any questions? Yes.
That gas cooking.
Biogas?
Yeah, biogas with human waste.
Yeah.
Could you explain that a little bit?
Here's where the fancy presentation that I did not do comes into place. Yeah, I've actually seen it in India as well. You have to add manure, I believe, just to produce more gas. I think it's the temperature, and if you let it just ferment or whatever it does, you can pipe the biogas that comes out. That's why you also have to stir it a bit too. But that's the technical part that I actually...
And they just burn it then?
They use the gas and they put just a stove and a pot on the stove, the same as we would do with natural gas or with a propane tank or something like that. It's all still roughed in, right?
It's natural gas.
Yeah. That is very natural. They actually are experimenting a lot of that also in Kenya with just households that are self-sustainable with using their own fishes and using biogas for cooking. But again, I'm not really an expert on those things, but I think you can Google that.
What's the commerce in that area? How do they sustain? How do they get money?
The people themselves?
Yeah.
There's a lot of farming. A lot of them just, work on the field if there's labor needed. People are very poor. They do sort of a banking system that you call the merry-go-round to help each other in time of need. Some people have little shops. Some people are what we call boda driver. If they had enough money over time to save up for a motorcycle, these people are taxi drivers. When I got to this area all the time, I had I had one of the guys that I use as a taxi driver. He spoke a little bit of English, and it's a lot easier in rural areas to get around on the back of a motorcycle than in a car, because the roads are so rough that it's very, very hard to get around with a car. So all kinds of ways people make a living, but it's poor. It's a very poor area.
How do they all afford a telephone?
I think that's what every country has the same. They are offered very cheap in the hope that you buy a package. Nobody does, but they do have a phone. They have points in the villages where you can actually charge your phone, because the majority of the people don't even have electricity in the house. So they go with their phone to the point where you pay a couple cents to get your phone charged. Yeah.
Anyone else?
Well, Margaret, that was a wonderful presentation. Thank you.
I wanted to thank you very much on behalf of the Kitchener-Westmount Rotary Club for joining us today and really sharing your passion, physiotherapy to helping the poor water systems, and it's nice to see that you truly are an example of giving back to the community.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, what we do on behalf of the Kitchener-Westmount Club is we have a program called the Operation Eyesight, and it's an opportunity for us to thank you and restore the eyesight of a person in a third world country, India. Jitin is a 75-year-old male there. So
Awesome.
thank you very much.
It was a wonderful
We just turn the light on here.
There's nothing else for the good of Rotary. We can't see. Well, we wanted to see the handoff.
And if there's nothing else for the good of Rotary.